Hello, ladies and gentlemen. In honor of Spider-Man Far From Home, I decided to revisit the Spider-Man films leading up to Far From Home. Now, I recently went over my review of Spider-Man, and today I'm going to be going over Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is one of the best sequels of all time, one of the greatest comic book films of all time. I mean, it works as a film. It doesn't have to be based on a comic book film. This is just a good film, period. And Sam Raimi returns to direct, and I love this installment. Tobey Maguire returns as Peter Parker slash Spider-Man. He almost didn't though. After Seabiscuit, he had a back injury and he almost wasn't available for this film. They almost were going to recast him with Jake Gyllenhaal, which is weird since he's Mysterio now. But luckily, Tobey Maguire was able to return and gives one of his best performances as the character. We also have Kirsten Dunst back as Mary Jane, James Franco back as Harry Osborn, and this time we have Alfred Molina as Dr. Otto Octavius. That's right, Doc Ock. This film was highly anticipated. Growing up, I loved the first Spider-Man film, and this was a highly awaited sequel. Originally, it was going to be called The Amazing Spider-Man. They decided to drop it and go with Spider-Man 2. I remember having the toys for this, seeing the trailer with Spider-Man being unmasked, and ultimately playing the video game. That was the best Spider-Man game till the PS4. It really was. This is a very serious, grounded approach to a comic book film. Like I said, it feels more like a film. And unlike other movies, it doesn't focus on Peter Parker in the costume as Spider-Man. It focuses on Peter Parker as an individual, building up the hero and his journey. And ultimately, it just shows us a Peter Parker that has the weight of the world on his shoulders. The world is just beating him up left and right. And Peter Parker has to be beat up. It's like the best Marvel comics. There are even some nods to the Spider-Man comics, such as Amazing Spider-Man issue 50, with Spider-Man being no more. And it brings us the question that's seen previously in like Superman 2 of like, what do I do with my power? What about me? What about my happiness? And it brings a very interesting element, you know. It starts off with Peter Parker working as a pizza delivery boy. His grades are slipping, and the toll of Spider-Man is really weighing down on him as an individual. You know, he doesn't have that much of a personal life. Meanwhile, Mary Jane Watson is going to be engaged to J. Jonah Jameson's son. He's losing the woman of his dreams. He has friction with his friend Harry Osborn, who blames Peter Parker for not only his father's death, but not telling him who Spider-Man is. He blames Spider-Man for his father's death, and he has no idea that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So he kind of resents Peter for not telling him who the Spider-Man is or where he is. And Peter Parker has a dilemma because Spider-Man is in fact Peter Parker. So he just has everything going against him here. But I also love this because it shows us a very relatable, sympathetic villain with Dr. Otto Octavius. He's a good man. You get to see Peter Parker be introduced to him through Harry Osborn. This is his idol. He's done a research paper on Otto Octavius. We get to see him with a wife. He is a good man who ultimately has a tragic event happen to him. And of course, the Otto Octavius arms take over him and he basically becomes a villain. And it's kind of sad because there's just once this good man who's been consumed by vengeance and these arms. And I love Dr. Octavius's arms. Practical effect with some CGI. I just love the look of it. The first scene they shot for this, the first major sequence, was Sam Raimi's idea, and that was a train fight sequence. The bank robbery train fight is among one of the best fight sequences I've seen in a superhero film and a Spider-Man film. It's such an amazing moment. Amazing moment when they discover like Peter Parker's just a kid and they put his mask on. They keep a secret. That was a crazy moment, and the confrontation with Harry Osborn. But this film does something very different. In the middle of it, he loses his powers. He can't be Spider-Man. It's a mental block. So his powers, his spider web, everything's not working. So he decides to take a break, but it may be too late. Ultimately brings a bigger theme of like doing what's right. It's not about what you want, but doing what's right, even if it means giving up the thing you want the most. And that's such an endearing tale, I think. It has a great theme, not only for Peter Parker with his relationship with Mary Jane, but also Spider-Man. Being Spider-Man comes at a cost. With great power comes with great responsibility. And he has to learn like, hey, this is the life I chose and it has a cost. And I love it because you get to see him try to be just Peter Parker. You have that famous scene with raindrops falling on my head and things like that. But also, he needs to be Spider-Man. There's people that need help. And it shows us the effects of Peter Parker deciding not to be Spider-Man. And then there's that famous restaurant moment that was a teaser. and it hits. You know, never go after the hero's girl. That's a big mistake, but I love that sequence where he gets his powers back. And just everything about this film from beginning to end is great. It has moments of comedy, moments of terror, moments of action, and dramatic points. There's a lovely scene with him and Aunt May where he basically confesses to Aunt May that he was basically responsible for killing Uncle Ben. He let the killer go, and that's the man who shot him. So that was a very tragic, kind of sad scene. And there's also the other scene of Aunt May losing her house and selling items, saying everybody's looking out for a hero. You know, they wait for him in the streets, out in the rain. There's a hero in everyone, in all of us. And it really coincides with Spider-Man's choice, you know, Peter Parker's choice to remain Spider-Man, and I love that. No other film has conveyed the emotion of this film, of what it means to be a hero in a grounded way. You know, this is based on a comic book, but what I love about Marvel Comics, this embodies the best of Marvel Comics, and that is bringing relatable heroes in real worlds. You know, Spider-Man's not in Metropolis, he's not in Gotham City, he's in New York City. And he's a man. And I love that because, like Marvel Comics, this shows you, yeah, he's a superpowered being, but he's still a human being with human problems. And this film conveys that brilliantly. So I've had to give Spider-Man 2 a score. I give it a 5 out of 5 and an A+. This is one of the best comic book films ever made, and just the best Spider-Man film. To me, this is still the best Spider-Man film. No film has come close to this movie. This film is near perfection, and I just love everything about this movie. It's just a shame what happened after this, the direction it took. And I'm like, how did it go from Spider-Man 2 to 3? And I love how everything that was set up in Spider-Man 1 is paid off here in Spider-Man 2. That confrontation between him and Harry, William Dafoe's cameo, which, by the way, was not supposed to happen originally. Originally, William Dafoe was just walking to his apartment, and he saw the cast and crew filming, said hello, and they decided to basically give him a cameo. And I love it because it reminds me of the cartoon with the whole Green Goblin 2 Hobgoblin story thread. That was so great. So many great seeds for what could have been an awesome Spider-Man 3. I love how it ended. And J.K. Simmons is so great as J. Jonah Jameson. He's just like telling his wife, he's like, you need to call the caterer and tell him to close the caviar. And then just Mary Jane running in her wedding dress with like the wedding song playing, and Peter Parker there, go get him, Tiger. Such an amazing ending, so heartfelt after all of the struggles Peter Parker has gone through in both films. But at the same time, there's a level of fear, a level of unknown that the couple must face moving forward. You see Mary Jane's face there as he goes out and does his job. This is the cost, you know. She's with the man she loves. He's with the woman he loves. But there's going to be that side of Spider-Man that might create some conflict in the future, and I love that, because even though it's a happy ending, at the same time, there's a level of fearing the unknown there that Mary Jane has. It's like, did she make the right choice? And such a brilliant ending. I love it. Bigger, better than the first film. And this is just a great movie, a great sequel. It does everything a sequel should do. It has propelled the story forward, developed the characters more, and make it bigger and better than its predecessor. And Spider-Man 2 does just that. Anyway, you can follow me on the Stardust app at Fred Film Fanatic, and those are my thoughts on Spider-Man 2. Feel free to let me know your thoughts. What did you think about Spider-Man 2? Down in the comments below. What is your favorite Spider-Man film? Feel free to let me know. Like, comment, and subscribe for more videos. Stay tuned for my review of Spider-Man 3.